So curl. I put this under automation because that's what it's mostly used for. But I mean, it can be used for a bunch of other stuff like debugging as well. But what is curl? So curl is a command line tool that can basically send requests through like various protocols, hypertext transfer protocol, like your websites, simple mail transfer protocol, emails, file transfer protocol, file transfer and stuff like that. And then yeah, then you have your different kind of requests. I wrote HTTP here, but this could be used for this could be used for FTP as well. But it's like yeah, your get, post, pull, all those kinds of methods. And then yeah, the common uses I said were like debugging and automation. And so like if you were building like a web scraper, you could make curl requests for websites and that could be part of automation. If you wanted to build a bot that sends emails, you can use curl for that. And like I said before, I'll be explaining where these kind of tools land on the OSI model, the OSI model. So yeah, that lands on the presentation layer, which is over here, quite up here with data representation and encryption and sorts. So I'm going to go ahead and just start looking at some of these commands. So curl is pretty simple. You just write its command, the flags that follow, and then the specified URL. So I'm gonna go on my Kali right now and start up a terminal. So I said I was going to review ARP and Nmap really quickly. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and do, if you want, you do the ARP command. It's sudo ARP scan -L, meaning that I'm scanning my local network. And this will basically just show me devices, their IP address, their MAC address that are connected to my current network. So I can do that right now. Type in my password. And then you can see here, these are all a bunch of devices. Like I said before, IP, the ones that usually end with .1, that's usually the router. This is my router's MAC address, and this is my router vendor. It's a TP-Link router. And then, yeah, you have a bunch of other devices here. Like this is probably my Switch, because it's from Nintendo. But I'm going to go ahead and do an Nmap scan now. I'll be writing nmap-n. This will skip DNS resolution, because a small lesson on networking. IP addresses basically always change. They're never the same. If you want to reference a website, you use a domain name like google.com. That's a domain name. And so, yeah, you can ping google.com and then it'll give you like, oh, these are like the packets it's receiving and stuff like that. But so google.com is the domain name, and then its IP addresses. But basically, what I was going to do here was nmap-n skips that domain resolution. And then I'll be writing, I don't know, let's see, let's do. So it didn't show here, but I can try again. Let's try running that again. Ah, okay, here it is. So this is the device that is of interest. So I can run my nmap scan here, nmap-n, and then you can write the IP address 192.168.0.233. And now this will just run a scan. Oh, sorry. Should we do host discovery? Okay, my bad. I forgot. It's -n uh, skips domain name, but we don't want to skip domain name. We want to skip the host discovery, which is pn. Okay, my bad. Bit of an oopsie. But I just write -pn, and that just basically saves me time. And the reason I wanted to do that is because you can see these are all of the open ports that are on my device, and that there is a lot of them. And if I didn't write pn, it would try to, yeah, it would try to scan for that host for every single one of these. And basically, I can tell you that most of these are just Microsoft bullcrap, and that's why I wanted to skip the host discovery. My bad. Okay, but this is the important one I wanted to talk about, which was port 80. I talked about last time where if you see this port open 80, you can basically just type in that address into your browser. So I can literally go to that website by just doing http:// and then I can do that IP address like so 0233. And if I do that, it brings me to Microsoft Internet Information Services. And the reason why is because stupid Microsoft makes me have to run this stupid internet services thing so then I can host my website. So in actuality, my website is being hosted here, 8080 in HTTP proxy, because HTTP port is being taken up by Microsoft IIS. So if you want to specify a port, you can write colon 8080 or the port number. And now when I type that, there you go. This is the website that I'm referring to. So yeah, so now that we're on this website, now we can start talking about curl. So I'm going to be talking about the HTTP requests for curl. So I can grab like the header of the website. So I can do, if that would be, go down here, that would be curl -I. It just prints the header of the request or the response. So I can do -I http://192.168.0.233 and then 8080 because that's my website. And now if I type this, there you go. We can see here that this runs on HTTP 1.1. 200 means that it was a success. It could open it. And you can see here, this is the last date was modified. The date I opened it. And then this, yeah, here, this is the server. It runs on Microsoft IIS version 7.5. Yeah. And you can write, there's another one you can do if you want to see kind of like the curl process, I guess. You can run kind of a verbose mode. And you can write -v. And now you can see here, this, you can see the connection using HTTP 1.0. It's grabbing its head. This is the host, the user agent, curl. This is the curl version I have. And yeah, there you go. Then it's just running through a bunch of the stuff, and you can see here what it's returning and whatnot. Okay, so yeah, that's just that's 2 flags for curl. So that's -I, and I did not push -v. I will put that there. I actually made a couple mistakes here, so I'll be telling you about those, and then I will be fixing the actual PDF later, and I'll be putting up the new PDF later. But yeah, that covers -I and -v. So now I think what I want to talk about is being able to download files, because that was another part I said you could use curl for, which is downloading files from like a website. So I can go ahead and do let's say I want to get, do you guys remember that robots.txt I was talking about before? That's kind of permission files for web scraping bots. Kind of tells them what directories they are allowed to go in and what they're not allowed to go to. Let's go ahead and just download that file. Like we can just go HTTPS because it's I'm going to like google.com. There you go. Warning, no remote file name curl response. Whoops, I forgot to specify robots.txt. Okay, robots.txt because that's the file I want to download. There you go. Now, why am I in temporary? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Okay. Sorry, do that again. So yeah, here's my curl command -O to download a file, and you specify the URL to the file, and this is robots.txt. I can go ahead and download that. There it is, robots.txt. Let me just cat it, and then yeah, you can see. Oh, okay. Well, the document has been moved, but it's a different URL, but whatever. The file it's referencing is still exists. This is just where it's at right now. So yeah. So that's how you download a file. Let's go ahead and I'm going to do another example of that. I'm going to go ahead and go to my documents folder. This is what it looks like. I have a couple of stuff here. I have this file named hi, and I'm going to open up basically I'm going to open up a kind of a simple web server using Python. You can actually do this right now if you want. You can write Python 3-m and then you can write HTTP server, and then you want to host that on port 80. If you host it on something else like I did, like 8080, then when you want to like be able to see that web server, then you have to remember that you're hosting it on a different port number. But I'm just going to host it on 80. And if I run that, then you can see serving on HTTP on 000 port 80. So this is my local host. I'm going to go ahead and just open up a new window. And we can actually check out that web server right now. Here, let's go there. So you can write HTTP :// and then you can write localhost. You can just write localhost, and the reason why is because in our hosts file, which basically does DNS resolution, like that thing I said before, where you map IP addresses to domain name, the word localhost is tied to the IP address 1270. Actually, let me just show you right now. So I can go here, cat. Your host file is located at etc hosts. I think you need to run sudo with that. And you can see here, localhost is tied to the IP address 127001. And if those of you who don't know, 127001 is your machine, pretty much it. Like, it will never change. 127001 will always be your own machine. And you can always use just localhost to preface that. So I can go back here, I can write HTTP ://localhost, and if I type that in, there you go. This is my simple Python server I just hosted, and that's inside of my documents folder. You see here that I have these stuff like here. There's that file hi. If I go to my if I go to documents, list it again, you can see here it's the same stuff because I'm hosting my Python server in that documents folder. Okay, now this is what I want to do. I want to go ahead and download a file from this website. So let me go back to my home directory. This is just what I have. I'm going to go ahead and write a curl command. We're going to go ahead and download this hi file. So I'm going to go curl, and you can write -o, and then you can write HTTP ://localhost/hi. And if I run that, then there you go. You can see in my web server there has been a GET request for the hi, and it was successful because it returned 200. So if I list now, there it is. There's hi. So I can, cat its contents, and there you go. It just says hello world in it. If you want, you can actually also rename the file when you download it by going back to this curl command. Instead of capital O, you can use lowercase o, and then give it a name. Like we'll just say new name. So now we're making a curl request for downloading a file. We're going to call it new name, and then this is the file we're looking for. And there you go, another 200. And I list my directory, and there it is, new name. I can cat it again if I want. There you go, same file, just with a different name. So yeah, that's how you download files. And now you can also, here, actually, let's go ahead. So yeah, we covered this one, being able to print the header of your responses. We looked at this one, being able to like download a response file. And now we're going to look at this one. Now this one, I actually made a mistake. It's not -f, it's -t. I will fix that. But yeah, then you're also able to send a file as well. Also, this is not supposed to be a post request, it's a put request. So yeah, I made a couple of mistakes, but I'll fix them, don't worry. So yeah, you basically get to, from a put request, you get to give that website, that web server in general, a file. So I'm going to go ahead and show that right now. So I'm going to cancel this, and the reason I'm not going to use the Python simple web server, and the reason is because I can actually show you right now. So let me start it back up. If you write curl -x, that basically over here, it basically specifies the HTTP request method. So like you saw before, there was a bunch of gets. I could have written -x, and then I could have written get, and then I could have written new name, blah blah blah. But the -o kind of assumes you're making a get request, so you don't have to write that. But you can preface get, post, pull, whatever. But if you write curl x options, that basically lets you know the different kind of requests you can make. So I'm going to go ahead and this is for that web server, my website I was looking at before, the one on 8080. If I write that here, I can look at the commands. This is what I'm allowed to do. I'm allowed to look for options, trace, get, head, and post. So you see here that I have no put, so that means my website is not looking for any requests that put a file on the website. And if you try to do this for that Python server, if you try to do it for the Python server, localhost, so http colon / localhost. If you try to check the options here, you get nothing. It returns you 501. That means improper request, like improper request, and it says unsupported method options. And the reason is because the only two options that the simple Python server allows you to do is head and get, and I already showed both of those. And it doesn't even have an option to see the options. So what I'm going to do instead to kind of demonstrate like file transferring, stuff like that, is I'm going to start an FTP server on my device. So I can start FTP on my localhost. If you do want to follow this part, there is some configurations you do have to make. So I put in the Discord chat. If you go to the voice channel, click open chat. You can see 3 commands I put in here. I put sudo nano. You can use Vim if you want, just whichever text editor you're comfortable being able to write and quit with. Basically, what you want to do is open up this vsftpd config file. Then you want to add these 3 lines at the bottom, and then you can like start the thing. Like here, I can walk you through if you're interested. So yeah, you want to go sudo. I'm just going to use Vim because I just use Vim. And then yeah, you want to go etc vsftpd, and then you want to go to the config file. This is what it looks like. This is your configuration file for your FTP server. And then I just added these 3 lines at the bottom. Anonymous enables no, local enables yes, write enables yes. So if once you basically done that, then you can write sudo system control, and then you can start now your vsftpd, and then you just run that command, and then it will start your server. Mine is already started. Oh, and okay, if you want to stop after it's done, then you write stop now vsftpd. vsftpd, and then yeah, then I'll stop the server. But mine is already open right now, so if I want to access that, I just write ftp my localhost, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just browse what's in here. So I give my login information, which is default Kali login information, and now that I'm in my server, I can just check out what's here. So you can kind of see that I have, here's my desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, blah, blah, blah. This looks like my home directory because it is. So my FTP server is set up on my home directory. So let me go into my documents, and let's say I want to download, I want to upload. We're talking about uploading now. I want to upload let's upload this Python file, this hello world.py. I want to upload this to my FTP server. My FTP server is just for example. You could like upload a file to a website, upload a file to whatever. I'm just here with my FTP server, for example. I'm going to go ahead and let's go back, or actually no, let's stay here, and then I'm going to go write curl, and then you're going to write -t, then we're going to write hello world.py, and then we're going to preface the location. Now this is on FTP, so I'm going to write FTP : //localhost. And now this gets into this next part, because you saw how my FTP server required a login information. We can use this flag now, -u, to preface a username and a password. So we're going to log in as -u. We're going to log in as Kali with password of Kali, because that's the default Kali login information. So if I almost forgot the part. If you want to use file transfer, you need to preface where it's going, and it's going into hello world.py. There you go. So make sure you put the name of your file you're transferring and append it to that end of the kind of request. So I'm just storing a file here. But if it was part of like a form data, because you know how you can websites like you have an option like, oh, upload file to website blah blah blah, and basically that will be converted to like JSON data. So you'll see it'll say like question mark equals blah blah blah. So you would just append the name there instead of like a slash. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this, and it says received. Okay, cool. So if I go back on my FTP server, I hit ls, we can see that we have a new file. There it is, helloworld.py. I go back to my home directory because that's where my FTP server is being hosted. I list it, and there it is, helloworld.py. So yeah, you use curl, let's go back to the PDF, curl-I to print the header. That just tells you basic information of your response. -X, technically optional, but if you want to look for the options, like what you're allowed to do for a website, is pretty useful. -H, custom header. I will talk about that later. -D, JSON data and form data. I wish I had an example to show that. I will come up with something with that later. I just need to, I need to find like a website where I can do this safely. And then, yeah, -U, you can log in with a username and password. Uh, capital O or lowercase o to download a file. A -T, not F, I'm sorry. That's to upload a file. And then B is for cookie if you want to, okay, it's the same thing kind of like user, but instead you're doing it from continuing off from a cookie instead. Here is what kind of example I would have shown if I had a website set up that I could send in like JSON data. But yeah, here you would specify the current header, the content type, it's from an application and it's in JSON object. Then you would specify the data being uploaded. JSON objects are like key value stuff like a dictionary. So you said upload with a key value, and then you put in the website and it's like an API or whatever. Doesn't really matter. Form, doesn't matter. So yeah, that kind of wraps up curl. I kind of went a bit fast, so if any of you have questions, please let me know. I can also go over things again if you're a bit confused. Then that means I am just going to go ahead and move on to the next section. Here we go. So we finished curl, and now I'm going to be talking about John the Ripper and Hashcat. This is kind of like a separate topic from curl, so yeah, this is going to be a bit new. They are password crackers. Pretty short. They basically crack encryption algorithms like MD5, SHA, bcrypt, whatever other encryption algorithms that you guys know of. It can do dictionary brute force, basically meaning that after it'll basically use a dictionary of words to kind of like cross-reference. So it'll have like a bunch of passwords in it, like 12345 admin whatever, and it will basically take that algorithm that you specified with. It will encrypt that like password with that same algorithm, and then it'll compare to see if the hashes, which is the kind of output you get after encrypting, it'll compare to see if the hashes are the same, and if the hashes are the same, then that means the password is the same. So that's a dictionary brute force. And then you have a mask attack. Now this one is this one's kind of bad because essentially it's brute forcing every single letter. I'll show you the mask later, but like let's say your password is like 12345. You specify a mask of 5 characters, all digits. It will try every single number, every single 5-digit number, and it'll see if it can, and it'll basically create like that kind of like password word list, do the encryption, compare the hashes, blah blah blah. So mask attack is definitely really slow. Same thing as curl. It takes place on the presentation layer because it's all of encryption and decryptions and stuff like that. And then the other tool I actually also wanted to talk about at the same time is CyberChef, which is all the way on page 6. So let me just go here. This one's really, really simple. I put the URL over here, and I have it set up over here. So CyberChef, I'm just going to show you its main usage, which is encrypting and decrypting. So I can go ahead and say, I don't know. Let's give our input. Our input, let's say, is password 12345. Okay, that's our password. Password 12345. We're gonna go ahead and let's go ahead and encrypt this password. You can use the search bar and search up SHA-256. Why not? SHA-2, and then you add that to your recipe, and then I'll change the sides to 256 because we're doing SHA-256. And there you go. This is our password hash. It is generated for us. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to go ahead and just create a new file called hash.txt. And I'm going to go ahead and print that hash, and I'll close it. So let's go ahead and look at our commands now. So yeah, I mean, that was pretty much what CyberChef was. You can give an input, define an operation. You're supposed to hit the bake button, but you can also just leave auto bake, so then it does it for you. And then it'll give you an output. It'll encrypt, decrypt, etc., etc. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the PDF. Oh, no, I am on the PDF. We're going to go ahead and look at John the Ripper and Hashcat now. So yeah, they do similar things, just different commands. Actually, let's look at Hashcat first, because this one's more, I guess, a bit more complicated and like forming a command because of the stupid modes that they have. But I'll talk about that. So yeah, simple. It has more flags than this. I just put the ones that matter. Dash show. I made a mistake. I put it here. It's supposed to be after the word list. I'll fix that later. But yeah, you can use hashcat. You specify the attack mode. The attack mode, there's 4 attack modes, but the only ones that kind of matter to us is straight and brute force. This brute force one is that mask I was talking about. -M that specifies the hash type, and that's like the encryptions I was talking about before: MD5, SHA, base64, bcrypt, blah blah blah. And here is a really basic hashcat command. So you use -A 0 to specify straight. That's a dictionary attack. Then use -M 0. 0 stands for MD5. And then you give it that hash or hash.txt. You give it the word list that you're going to use brute force with, and then you do show. And then here is example with brute force. So you use attack mode 3, and then this is for mode 1400. That's SHA-256. Then you give it the hash, but instead of a word list, you define the mask. So for every kind of character that exists in the string, you use a question mark. And then you use U stands for uppercase letter, L stands for lowercase letter, and D stands for digit. So this will try to brute force a password with all different kinds of uppercase letters, 2 lowercase letters, and then 2 digits. And as you can tell, this would probably take forever. But let's go ahead and just look at some of these modes, because this is probably the most confusing part about hashcat. I'm going to go ahead and write hashcat help. You can write hashcat help, or you can do man hashcat, just whatever one you prefer. Both show kind of the modes. So I'm going to go ahead and write help, and it's going to generate this file for me, and then we can go ahead and look at all the different kinds of. I'm going to go ahead and just close this. I'm going to go ahead and close some of these browsers because I don't need them. There we go. So now we have more space. You can see here that these are a bunch of different modes. These are all different kinds of like encryptions, like Vericrypt, Lucas, SQL stuff, Cisco. Yeah, they have a lot of different algorithms you can use. And let's say we're trying to look for one specifically. We can use those Linux commands I was talking before. What time is it? 6:16? Oh, geez. Okay. You can use grep, and then let's say I'm looking for MD5. Boom. There you go. And this is what I wanted, which was attack 0, MD5. Let's go ahead and do that hashcat command. So there is my hash. I'm going to go ahead and write hashcat. We're going to do attack mode 0. We're going to go ahead and specify, actually, another side note, I'm going to go ahead and just look at hash txt. Let's say you were given this hash and you have absolutely no idea what kind of hash this is. You can go ahead and copy it, and you can go to like a kind of a hash, like a kind of tell me what hash is. But you can also just use ChatGPT and just say, what hash is this, or what encryption is this, and you can give it this. You can give it that hash, and it will guess. And there you go. There you go. SHA-256. So that's probably like the most easy way for finding out what kind of hash you're dealing with. And then we can go back here. So we're going to go say hashcat. We're going to specify the attack mode is 0. The method is, we don't know yet. We're going to go ahead and do hashcat help grep SHA-2 because it is under 2. SHA-2 256 1400. Cool. So we're going to go ahead hashcat attack mode 0-m 1400 hash.txt. And now you see this word list I'm using here, rocky.txt. I talked about it before. It's a really big password file. Never cat it. It will take forever to print. But basically it contains a bunch of different passwords. And I'm going to go ahead and write show and print. There you go. And then that's the password. If I already ran this command, so if I do it again, you can see here it says that, what does it say? Yeah, info all hashes found pop file. It basically created a save data for my hashcat file, or no, for my hashcat hash, that hash I gave it, and it already saved its state. So it skipped that whole kind of discovery process. But I mean, okay, basically you'll arrive to the same thing, and there we go. This is the hash we gave it, colon, and then the password, which was password 12345. So it was able to crack this hash and give me the password. And we could do the same thing with John the Ripper. John the Ripper is a bit different. It is 619. I'm going to go ahead and go through this really fast. I'm going to go to John. And now you can see it's basically kind of the same thing. We're going to go preface with John. And instead of, you don't need to specify attack format, you can go ahead instead just specify mask or word list. So this is kind of like that -m, the method. The method in this case is format, and format, we're going to say it's raw MD5. And then you can go ahead and give it that word list, -- word list equals, and then you need to display show, and then you give it that hash txt I was talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. John, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is format of SHA-256. And then we're going to go ahead and say, I think it's just, oops. Yep. Then you give it a word list equals, and now we're going to go into etc, /etc, share word lists, and then we're going to give it rocku.txt. Show hash.txt, and then show. Okay, I might have gone the format wrong. Oops, no. He's 21. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just make a new password, except this time we're going to go ahead and do it with MD5. Cool. So this is our new. We can go ahead, copy this. Let's go back into here. I'm going to change this, give it now. So instead of that, we're going to go ahead and give it this. So now our new hash is in MD5. And this one, I believe, is raw MD5. Like, I'm very confident about that. Raw MD5. There. Loaded one password. No. Here. For open. No such file exists. Rocky.txt. Hold up. Oh, I'm so silly. I'm sorry. It's not etc. It's user. There you go. Oh, and I wasn't able to crack it. Interesting. Oh, raw MD5. Raw, capital R. No, raw MD5. And then you use the show. Okay, well, it looks like I do have to use show. Damn you. Okay, well, in the video, I'll put the results later. Sorry, I couldn't get this to work, but yeah, John. That's basically how you use John in Hashcat. Yeah. Any questions other than the John output? Because that was a bit of a mess up on my part. I don't want to keep you here for too long as well. So,
Yeah,
any questions? Yeah.
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 I think it would be cool if we also could have an overview of how everything gets salted and how it gets encrypted. So
Okay, okay, no, perfect, perfect. Okay,
information.
so that will lead into this like kind of talk about Hashcat and John will lead into a future workshop we have planned about talking about salt. Salt is something you basically add onto that kind of like a little garbage you add onto like kind of the end of a string to get like a different kind of like output. Like if we look at Hashcat's thing again here, Hashcat help. We look for stuff that talk about salt. You can see that they have like all different kinds of salt. You can add so like here for an MD5, you can add a little bit of salt on like your password and stuff like that. And then there's like a different kind of like decryption. Like here, you could have salt at the beginning and at the end, just at the beginning or also at the end. So like it's different stuff like that. And you can see here that this does an MD5 encryption of a SHA-1 encryption that has salt in the password. So yeah, that's something we'll cover later in a future workshop. Okay. Any other questions? Nope. Assuming that all of you got that short overview, we went over curl at the beginning. Then we did Cyber Chef really quickly, and then we did John the Ripper and Hashcat. I guess that's pretty much it. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.